I know this picture is a little controversial. It might offend somebody, but it's not meant to offend somebody. It's just meant to illustrate the facts of the society we're living in today in America. You know, every time I hear about a school shooting, I'm saddened. Every time I hear about someone who is going out and just decide to shoot a bunch of people because the person can, because the person possesses a firearm or several firearms or so-called high-capacity magazines, that infuriates me. It makes me mad. But I'm looking at the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is the nuclear family is in complete dissolvement. It's like acid has been poured on them. There is no family structures. Lots of kids today are growing up without having a father figure, especially in the black community. Not to lash out on anybody, you need to understand what I'm saying. It seems like that our society, people amongst themselves, are falling apart. Why are they falling apart? Well, one reason for why they're falling apart is because we got a media system, lamestream media. Doesn't matter what channel you choose, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever. It seems like there's this bias to constantly vilify anybody who owns a firearm. Well, owning a firearm is not something, wow, man, I'm special. I own a firearm, and my firearm is the most lazy firearm on the face of this planet. It is just lying there. It's not doing anything. It's just lying there right in front of me, a hand's reach from me. I never touch it. I don't sit and fiddle around with it. Oh man, I got a gun. Oh, I'm so slick. I don't consider a firearm in that manner. I consider a firearm as a tool in case I have to defend myself, my loved ones, or innocent bystanders, or acting on duty police officer, or anyone for that matter. That's the only reason for why I have a firearm. I don't have a firearm with the thoughts about, oh, I want to go out and shoot somebody because I have a firearm and I'm able to do that. No. The vast majority of the American people are responsible citizens and they own firearms. But they don't sit and fiddle around with their firearms all day long and unfortunately do a negligent discharge on their firearm and shoot themselves in the foot or the leg or shoot a hole in the ceiling. I mean, they don't do that. And the Second Amendment is very clear that the people have the right to bear and keep arms, or keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed. a well-regulated militia, meaning a militia, which is us. Our duty is to defend our Constitution that is founded by our founding fathers. And they knew exactly what they were writing down. I'm not going to agitate for anything, because I don't advocate for violence. I don't advocate for anything that is of negative nature or evil intent or anything like that. But I am just asking, you're sitting in your home and all of a sudden you hear a loud banging on your door, and that banging turns into kicking on your door, and that kicking on your door turns into the hinges of your door comes off and the door falls on your floor, and there you sit, unarmed, unable to defend yourself against whoever is coming through your door. That's why one of the reasons for why we have a Second Amendment. Another reason for why and the most important thing is why we have a Second Amendment. That is because it has through history always proven that as soon as we consider the terminology of democracy always, and I mean always, you can look it up yourself. I don't have to explain it to you. If you don't believe me, look into it. Because I don't have to explain everything. It is up to you to find the answers yourself. Because what I'm doing here, that is, I'm giving you a task to find out yourself. I'm not here to give you all the answers. I'm here to give you an idea that you can work on, and maybe you will come up with the same conclusion as I do, or I did. Every democracy, so-called democracy, always, and history has proven that, always end up in dictatorship. Let's say 51% vote for this and 49% vote for that. That means that the 49% of the population in that respective country or state, if it's a state, have to suffer under the 51% votes. That's not fair. That's not democracy. That's tyranny. And over time, that system of voting turns into more and more and more oppressive rules and laws. And in the end, it turns into a full-blown dictatorship. That's what happened during the Nazi Germany. It did not happen during Russia back then. It happened during a bloody revolution. But the idea about tyranny has always been through revolution. I don't want a revolution in America, but I'm afraid that we're looking upon one in the near future. Because I know I'm getting around and I'm talking to people. I'm very extrovert. I'm not introvert. I'm used to communicating with people, and the buzz is where I go, where I hear people talk. That is, if someone like ATF comes, or someone like UN comes, someone like blah blah comes and wants to control my life, I'm gonna bloody shoot them dead. Because they got no right to decide my life. I just want to be left alone. That's the jungle drums that I'm hearing around in the country. So I don't know how the ATF is even going to enforce those illegal rulings that they have made lately. And right now in the government, there is actually discussions about abolishing the ATF because the ATF now has found themselves in a situation where they think they can make laws up themselves, which they cannot. Only the legislative branch can do that. And it has to be approved by Congress. But nevertheless, the ATF is going out and saying you can't have a pistol brace on your firearm, meaning the AR-15, which the communist, socialist, Democrats is calling an assault rifle, which it is not. They're using that word again and again and again and again and again and million times in order to persuade you that an AR-15 is a weapon of war. No, it is not. It is not. AR-15, let's just take an example of Texas, where I live. Texas annually lose $2.4 billion in agriculture and farm, meaning livestock, to wild hogs and coyotes. $2.5 billion. And they are hiring good shooters. And guess what they are equipped with? AR-15. Why is that? Because it's a highly efficient weapon when it needs to be used. But what I also know, that a lot of these mass shootings has been done by a group of people that is a very delicate group of people that consider themselves not being as what they were born as. Going out and doing something heinous. And besides that, we have a sitting government administration that is saying that these kind of people that wants to live this lifestyle is completely normal. I hold to say it is not normal. There is a very good reason for why God put punishment upon Sodom and Gomorrah and annihilated them once and for all. All of it gone forever. Period. Gone. I don't want something like that to repeat itself, because that is in itself, if I look in my feelings, that's whoa, man, that is big. But what I'm saying is, I am not okay that we have a government that is favorizing them over the vast majority who is actually living a heterosexual life. The vast majority. We have to accept them. Okay, that's okay. They can live their life as they choose to. I am not going to go and say, you cannot do that. That is criminal. You need to be put in a mental institution. That's not for me to decide. It's not for you to decide. They can live their life as they choose. In the end, when they leave this planet, they will stand before God, and there they will answer to what they have done in their lives. That's not up to me to decide. I'm not deciding. I'm not judging them. They can do whatever they want to, because God gave us free will. I don't mind. I mean, I know from my point of view, I know the lifestyle that they have chosen and the idea of changing that who they are from birth is wrong, because God intended us to be proactive, not the other way around. Or meaning, He wanted us to be procreative. He told Adam and Eve to multiply and be fruitful. Even after the flood, God told Noah to multiply and be fruitful. By having the same-sex relationship is not procreative. On the contrary, there will be no children. It cannot be done. And men who is born physical male can never be pregnant, can never have menstruation, can never have menopause, can never have any kind of idea of being a woman. That's all up in their head. Biologically, it's an impossibility. It cannot be done. Men do not possess those abilities, and that is all the way back to our Creator. It cannot be done. And women cannot become men. They cannot get, the stick, the hose, and have a fruitful life in that manner. And that pleasure that is to be with the one you love, meaning the one you have married to, meaning one flesh. It cannot be done. It is an impossibility physiologically. It just can't be done. And we are being taught now by the media, by the administration, that lifestyle that they have is completely normal, and just carry on. And by being told while they're having an illness in them that is not being addressed and mended upon, these people are getting more and more frustrated in themselves. And they just end up reacting to their false sense of security that unfortunately the current government and the government before President Trump expressed to people that is perfectly normal. I hate to break it to you, it's not. I know you don't like it, some of you. You might feel offended, but I'm not to offend anybody. And unfortunately, China Tube, as I call them, has numerous times flagged me for my videos for expressing my views. But let me make one thing clear. I don't hate anybody. No one. I don't hate my neighbor. I don't hate my government. I don't hate my country. I don't hate anything. But I just don't agree with some of the things that is going on. Some of the things that is being pushed down our throat for us to accept as being normal. I can't do that. Because I'm not brought up like that. I'm not brought up in a world of black and white. But the reality is, the world is black and white. White is the good stuff, the black is the bad stuff. There is no gray areas. You either do right or you do wrong. There's nothing in between. There is nothing in between. And if you look deep inside yourself before you start getting all upset and offended, ask yourself, this guy I'm listening to now, is he actually right? And I can assure you, if you're listening to your soul, not your bloody, selfish mind, but your soul, you would know what I am saying is not hate. What I am saying is truth. I don't hate you. I don't hate China Jew. You just, unfortunately, over the years become more and more woke and more controlled by China and the money they put into your platform. That's unfortunate. You could make just as much money by being real and sincere about your content instead of accepting bribe money from China to form an opinion, to form an agenda. But, as Jesus said, money is the root of all evil. And all these executives and all these tech giants, these employees, all driving around in their Teslas, their Mercedes, and whatever, BMWs, and maybe even they're driving a Maserati or Lamborghini, I don't know, maybe a Koenigsegg, if they're really high standard, meaning they cost $4 million for the lowest model. I mean, maybe they just think, well, I don't care. I make fat money. I don't give a shit. Excuse my language, but that's how normal people talk. Not that I want to cuss. I don't like cussing. But isn't that reality? Lots of doctors are receiving a bunch of money and bonus money and free Caribbean cruises for their entire family for selling their product to customers or patients. You see, the pharmaceutical industry is not in the business of making a cure. They have always been in the business of making more customers. Pharmaceutical companies, the word pharmaceutical comes from the Greek pharmakia, and the meaning of pharmakia means witchcraft, sorcerers, evil, nothing good. So, our country is run by or controlled by communists and controlled by pharmakia and controlled by big tech, controlled by media. Pretty much the whole world is. And Jesus spoke about these things. That there will be pestilences and disease. This is here where pharmakia comes in. And there will be kingdoms against nations against nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms. Why we have all these wars. And then he also talk about that there will be earthquakes in diverse places. Well, these earthquakes are what we call the birth pangs. Our earth, this earth that we have been granted dominion upon, not the politicians and not the pharmaceutical companies, but people, us, have been granted dominion on. We own this place. This place that we have been given dominion of is crying out. And it's crying out more and more and more and more. And this outcry results in so-called natural disasters, storms, rain, snow, earthquakes, rogue waves, roaring of the seas, which politicians refrain to use as the exact terminology of what it is. They just decide, oh, let's call it global warming. Oh no, we can't use that term because the North Pole, as Al Gore said, did not melt off before the year 2000. We got to come up with another term. Oh yeah, climate change. Well, climate change is not man-made in the manner of industrial composition. The climate change is because of weather modification. It's because of artificial inputs in our nature, and also because our earth that you and I live on, that we have dominion upon, is crying out for our Lord to come back and restore. So they come up with the idea of climate change to cover up for what's really going on. And that's why they want to send the world into a feudal society, meaning they want us to live like the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, where there's a king and then there's the peasants, you and me. That's the idea they want. And they are going to succeed for 3.5 years having that. But after that, game over for them. And you and I will be restored. How about that? And now we're also talking about the reparations for the black community. I know this is a hot potato. 600,000 young men died during the Civil War. Over 250,000 of them were the Yankees, which were fighting against the South to free slaves, black Americans. All those people, Yankees, were white. All of them. They fought and gave their life to set black Americans free from slavery. And those who had those slaves, they were Democrats. They were not Republicans. Let that sink through your head. And I also want you to know that many black people had slaves that were black in America after the Civil War. And if you talk about white supremacy is such a hot potato, I want you to understand one thing, that is, the first slaves in this country, United States, were Irish, brought by the British to this country. And they were the first slaves in America. Irish people are white, subdued by whites. So when I hear about this white supremacy, I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, black people of this nation and white people of this nation, vote people of this nation, will you please bloody look up the real history instead of listening to your politicians and the media, and understand one thing, that the first slaves in the entire history of mankind were white people. Yeah. Not black people, but white people. So, just to end this, fact is, history is always written by those who are victorious. So whoever sits on the power also have the power to discern what knowledge you have the right to know about. You see, I come from a country where this kind of crap don't exist and not allowed to exist. And I know for a fact that in this country, you are being lied to 24/7, 365 a year about everything. All of it. And fortunately, I have pledged my allegiance to the flag. I am an American citizen. But even though that I am an American citizen, I can still sit above all this and look objectively down upon all this that is going on. And I know for a fact what the media is doing, what the government is doing, what the big tech is doing, what the pharmaceutical companies are doing. It is to destroy you. And nothing but that. They have absolutely no empathy for you. They consider you as pesky little ants. And they consider themselves as grasshoppers that is obliged or have the right to eat and consume you and do whatever the hell they want to do with you. That's the fact. God bless you.